Hey, good afternoon, you guys. I am currently at work, but a story had just popped up, and I had discussed this story on my Facebook page years ago, and it just stayed on my mind like it probably did so many. A police officer, he was a police officer at the time. His name is Steven Calkins. He had arrested, or should I say pulled over, two men, or this is what he said. He pulled over two men of color. One was a black and or African American man, and the other one was a Mexican man. Anyhow, he had pulled them over, and he said the same thing about both these men. I believe one of them, I think the Mexican man, please, I hope I'm saying it right, but I think the Mexican man had bumped into another person, and they called him, and I don't know if his papers was in order from what I can remember. And the other one, he was on his way to work, and I believe his tag wasn't current or updated. Now, I'm not sure because it's been a long time, and I've read and trying to remember so many stories, but the point is, this one deputy, Steven Calkins, pulled them over, and he both said the same bullshit. He was like, oh, they seem like good men, yada, yada, yada. I cut them a break. I let them go. That's what he said. And if I'm not wrong about if I'm incorrect about the circumstances leading up to why he claimed he stopped them, this part I'm definitely correct about. I do remember Terrence Williams and Felipe Santos are their names. And he just act like, oh, I cut them a break and I let them go. But it was so eerie because they turned up missing. And if I vaguely do remember, when he had pulled over Terrence Williams' car, I think he had one of those cars that the younger black guys of that generation, they would get, and throw rims on and, hook it up with the system. And he was kind of being very condescending when he was talking to the other police officer. I guess he was trying to talk to that police officer how he felt a black person would speak that owned that car. That's how he was kicking it. That's really how he was kicking it. And both these men have been missing for years. I believe Terrence Williams had a young daughter, and I think when she did her interview, she was like in her 20s, and had a young baby of her own, and Terrence Santos, he came from a large family, and it was just horrible how they could not find these men. And I think they dismissed the deputy, fired him. He moved to Iowa. When I was following up on him back then, I think he had like a lawn service at the time. I see remains have been found. 3 different bodies, if I'm correct, have been found. They have been trying to get in contact with Calkins, who's now 68, but it's okay. You can still go to prison at 68. So hopefully it can be tied back to him more than we just knowing that he has done this. Hopefully the forensic evidence can link him back to doing this. These men, they're going to find out if they were murdered, how they were murdered. I had read something a few weeks ago where, the white racist cops, they would take people of color far out places and make them walk. I guess it was funny to them, like take them miles and miles out, or leave them in the woods, and they'd have to find their way back. It was like a game for them. So it was just iffy. Now, me thinking back then, I was on some my own. I was like, he probably took them and sold them for parts, because I had did a whole post back then of how the human body at the time is worth $3 million. I imagine since everything else went up, the human body should have went up, right? So the human body, they will pay money for a live eye. I think at the time it was like $40,000. So if you was willing to let one of your eyes go, a healthy eye, they would give you $40,000. It was crazy that how they were, we all know that they, black market, they steal body parts and sell them. We all know that. So that's what I was thinking that this cop had did with these two men that have families, which is just so fucked up. Again, I am at work, but, somebody had talked about the story, and it was like, you were talking about this story. I'm so happy that one or more of these families are going to get closure. Now, to my knowledge of what I briefly read, I see that I believe they found 3 different bodies. That's what I think. But I have to get back to work. But definitely, when I get home, I'm going to reread, and I'm going to definitely update this if you guys have been following this story. And I do remember at the time, Tyler Perry, the actor, I think he had like a $200,000 reward for information leading to finding these 2 men. So definitely, I'm going to look into this when I get off. So hopefully, justice for Terrence Williams and justice for Felipe Santos. Rest in peace.